What's up, race fans? It's Friday, May 3rd, and this is the official Orange County Fair Speedway podcast. We call it Talkin' Dirty with Jake, and I am your host, Jake. So before we roll into our interview segment and get talking about this week's races, let's do our race recap. Okay, last Saturday, April 27th races included big blocks, small blocks, sportsman, and street stocks were off. Our 30-lap big block modified feature was won by Billy Vanenwegen. Billy Vanenwegen. Billy V won his last race at OCFS in 2016 on June 18th. It was his third big block victory, so this marks his fourth in his career at Orange County Fair Speedway. Billy started third in a 30-car field, quickly jumped into second place behind early leader Tyler Dipple, who runs with the NASCAR Truck Series. He should be in Dover right now. Matt Janiak, meanwhile, who raced among the top four the entire race, inherited second when Perego pitted, but really never mounted a challenge as Vanenwegen drove to the checkered flag without much problem. Brian Crummell followed in third place with Brett Hearn, Craig Mitchell, Mike Goulart, Tommy Meyer, Danny Creedon, Jimmy Horton, and Jerry Higbee, rounding out the top 10. Let's move on to small blocks. Small blocks, we had reigning champion Brian Crummell well on his way to victory again here, but a caution with 14 laps completed would tighten the field and give Brett Hearn an opportunity to steal away that win. Hearn stayed on him the whole race and was able to pass Brian Crummell just on the last lap. Jerry Higbee would follow in third, with Jimmy Spellman and Danny Creedon rounding out the top five. Sportsman action was intense. Defending track champion Greg Slate bounced back from some early season woes to pick up his first win of 2019 in the Sportsman 20-lap feature, ahead of Grant Hilfiger, Kevin Ward, Ryan McCartney, and Jared Labat. Race recaps out of the way. Let's talk a little bit about May 4th. So anybody that's maybe aware of movies, right, has heard about Star Wars. Whether or not you're a fan of Star Wars, I know you've heard of it, right? And something that we always say, or they always say in Star Wars movies, is "May the Force be with you," right? And as the fandom around Star Wars has grown, they've kind of declared May 4th as Star Wars Day. And what we say on May 4th is we say, "May the 4th be with you." And so we're running a show on May 4th, and so we're embracing the theme, and we're going with it, and it's Star Wars Day, and we're going to have a War of the Stars at OCFS, where you see the Northeast's greatest dirt modified drivers battle it out. The night's event will feature big blocks, sportsmen, and street stocks. Our small block competitors are off for the evening. And in addition to our racing program, we have live music from the Harrison Street Band. We've got $5 margaritas at the bar to celebrate Cinco de Mayo. We've got costume characters who we got Darth Vader, we got a stormtrooper, and they're gonna hang out with fans, take pictures, and take part in the festivities. And for our little fans, we've got free light-up glow swords, or lightsabers, right, that we're going to distribute at the gate for free to children. So it's just going to be a fun family night, great night to bring the kids to the races, bring the whole family. You know, if you haven't noticed yet, we have a playground now off of Turn 1. It's a really great area for the kids to hang out when they get a little antsy with the racing. So they go hang out, and we'll have Star Wars characters hanging out, and they'll have their lightsabers that they can beat each other with, and they'll beat each other with them, because that's pretty much what those are for. Don't sue us. Anyway, it's gonna be a pretty wild night. I'm really excited about it, and I really hope the weather holds out. I'm recording this on Friday, the day before, and it's not looking great, but maybe we just don't talk about it and hope for the best, and everything will work out. Let's get moving along to our interview segment. This week, I've got a big one. I don't have a driver for you guys this week, and some of you may have heard this interview already if you listen to WTBQ Radio and you follow our Thursday morning segment on WTBQ where we interview drivers and we do other things, But we had Chris Larsen in WTBQ studios this week. I joined him, hosts of that show, Jim LaPlante, Taylor, and Frank Truitt. Awesome people. They have us on every Thursday. They gave me permission to take their interview with Chris Larsen and put it into our podcast here and rebroadcast it for our Talkin' Dirty listeners so they could hear this interview with Chris Larsen, the man behind all the new and crazy and wild and controversial things that are happening at Orange County Fair Speedway, all the stuff that has got you guys fired up and wondering what's going on. So hopefully this interview is a little illuminating. Hopefully it doesn't raise more questions than it answers, and that, hearing from the kind of mind behind it all will help everybody to more understand what we're going through, how we're trying to evolve, how we're trying to, elevate the sport of dirt racing, and most importantly, how to keep Orange County Fair Speedway thriving well beyond the 100 years that we celebrate this year. So anyway, here it is. Very awesome interview with Chris Larsen. Enjoy. We're talking dirty.
Frank Truitt.
WTBQ Warwick, WGHT Pompton Lakes. Temperatures a little above 50 degrees this morning, and it's not really even drizzling out there. Just like, it's May. It's April stuff carrying into May. Taylor is here, and Jim LaPlante are here this morning.
Yes, we are. Good morning.
And look who else is here. Good morning,
Jim. The show
Jim.
is starting to run fast.
Yeah, very
because
quick.
we've got some fast people in here this morning. That's right.
Yeah, we have Chris Larsen, the owner of Orange County Fair Speedway, which we are all in love with. I've gotten feedback from New Jersey now because we're broadcasting in North Jersey, New York City, about how thrilled they are to have racing, because they've lost everything in New Jersey, where they used to have different tracks. Englishtown, I think, closed a short while ago. And Jake Meyer is here from Orange County Fair Speedway. Good morning, Chris. Good morning,
Good morning,
Jake.
everyone. Good morning.
All right. So I know Jim was there Saturday night.
Yeah, I was cold, too.
Everyone was.
I saw Chris at the track, and he hit me on the shoulder on his way by me, and he said, make sure you stay warm. And it was chilly. By the end of the night, I was definitely chilled. Yeah. But, one of the big discussions after the race on Saturday was the conditions of the track, especially around turns 1 and 2. Can you kind of talk a little bit about what's going on there, and what are you doing to kind of fix that?
There's obviously a lot more to the story than most people realize. Last summer, we dug the whole track up about 18 inches to 2 feet deep. We took all that material, which was, still had a lot of clay in it. We took it to the infield. We screened it, right, and screened all the cobbles and the aggregate out. And we added 20, 30, 40 new truckloads of clay and then relayed the surface, okay? And we had a beautiful surface for the rest of the year there. By taking all the aggregate out, we lost a lot of the ability for that material to bind on its own.
Okay.
So in the springtime, because of the weather, we really haven't been able to get on top of the track and compact it properly with the right equipment. And we've had a lot of drainage issues. I think a lot of it probably is because of the school they built up on top of the hills, created more runoff than there used to be in years past. So we've been fighting, weather conditions, not on Saturday, but mostly on Friday. We haven't been able to prepare the track. So what that's happened is it's created, the surface is racy. None of the racers have complained about the raciness of the track and the ability to pass. It's just that it's been breaking up in spots and rutting. So, every week we go back out there and we fix the rut. And I think until the weather changes and the ground table, water table is lowered and things dry up more, we're going to fight that. And frankly, every track in the Northeast fights this every spring. I really don't think there's a track issue. Like I said, if we talk to most of the drivers, and obviously I get a lot of feedback from the guys on my own team, The ruts are an issue, but they've been able to pass, and we'll get through this. It's
Hey, there's always something, and you just address it when it comes up, and you try
Yeah.
to make it better. I mean, it's God's word. The weather is nothing. We can't change the weather. So hopefully on the 4th, and that's the spot that's running, may the 4th be with you. I love that. And it's going to be a Star Wars theme, folks. Make sure you get out there. This is so family friendly. We've had a couple of families actually stopped in who won tickets to some of the shows we give away and told us they had a ball. Their kids were in heaven. Their kids had never seen the dirt track or to a race, and they love it. So it's becoming everybody's favorite destination, too. So these are normal stuff that happens in any business. Things happen, you make it better.
well, like I said, especially this time of the year. We've already run 3 races where most tracks haven't opened yet.
Right.
Last week and this week is the opening for most of the tracks in New York. New Jersey opens the same as us, or even a week earlier. And they're all the same. Stewart ran at Fonda, and Fonda had issues with giant ponds of water, and other tracks are rough this time of year. If you talk to Brett Hearn, he'll say, yeah, it's every track he's ever raced at in the spring has been a rough track. So most of the drivers, and certainly the professional drivers, they've come to expect, a rough track in the spring, and but like I said, in the long term, we have a great track, and Mother Nature will cooperate with us sooner or
Eventually,
later.
yeah. Okay. One of the NASCAR yesterday announced that they're doing away with that group qualifying thing that
Right.
they do. Something new at the Orange County Fair Speedway this year was the time
Right.
trials at the beginning. Has that played a role in the condition of the track, you think? And are you kind of
think it's
discussing
really-
maybe changing that as well?
I don't think that's played a role in the condition of the track. We are talking with about a dozen drivers about the qualifying format tonight. We've obviously heard mostly negative complaints about it from the fans. Our thought there was to create a better feature. We obviously sacrificed the heat for that reason. We basically in the big blocks eliminated one heat by going to time trials, and we didn't really think a 2.5 minute heat would make a big difference in the program. I would say that I think we've done a good job. I think the features have been the most exciting they've ever been. They've been close right from lap 1, whereas in the past, you might not see really good racing till the 25th or 26th lap. It would take a long time for the best drivers to get through, and sometimes they'd catch the guy in the front, and sometimes they wouldn't. So, we thought we'd try this. We thought we'd get a bigger benefit out of a time savings, which
Yeah.
really hasn't happened.
Yeah, you've kept me up way past my bedtime now.
Well, that's not really because of the format. If we substitute heats for the time trials, it'll actually take a little bit longer to run the program. It's because we would be running 25 heats and consies based upon the car count.
The car
last
counts are up,
Saturday.
yeah.
And, you have to budget 5 minutes for each, so you're up to over 2 hours, worth of that before intermission, before features or anything. So it's impossible, I think, for us, unless we just flip-flop divisions to start a feature before 9 o'clock. We really were pushing to start them earlier, to kind of be done by 9:30 with the whole program. And as long as the the car counts stay where they are currently, it would be impossible. We've kind of, rethought the whole program and realized that, we're really 10 o'clock, 10:15 area is the best we'd be able to do, running heats or actually even running the time trial. So, the time trial format hasn't saved the time we thought. We think it leads to better racing. We watched the Sportsman group basically run almost their entire feature the other night on a rough track without really crashing.
Without an incident,
because
yeah.
the better drivers started up front.
And it's unusual for that series as
Yeah,
well.
but again, it's because the better drivers start up front, and they don't have to work their way through crashes and spin outs and stuff like that. So there's a benefit to be traded off with. I'll admit, it is boring sitting there watching time trials. Right? And nobody watches NASCAR time trials except for maybe my son.
The nerds, yeah, us nerds.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Frank.
So we're talking to a bunch of the competitors. We hear, what the fans are saying about it. We're trying to figure out how do we give them the best feature and still accommodate what they want to see up front.
Okay, let's
So
leave,
I would expect a change is coming there.
okay, let's leave the dirt for a moment and go to the concrete. Now, you're going to be heading down to Dover International Speedway this weekend,
Right.
where the Truck Series point leader,
That's
Stu
right.
Friesen, carries.
Isn't that nice to
yeah,
say
yeah,
that?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. But he's doing something very unique this weekend
Right.
with his truck. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Stu and Jessica's son Parker was diagnosed as being autistic and on the spectrum, and they're just wonderful parents, and they got him some help right away at a place called Crossroads up in Albany, and they've done an amazing job with Parker, and he's the cutest little guy you ever could meet, and he's really progressed unbelievably.
Yeah, he's an awesome kid. He really
Yeah.
is.
So Jessica and Stu wanted to, give back and raise some money for Crossroads, and we decided that we would paint the truck in puzzle pieces, which is a symbol of autism awareness.
That's their logo.
And we would sell each puzzle piece, basically ask for a donation to Crossroads to have somebody's name or logo inside a puzzle piece. And we sold out all the puzzle pieces and raised $70,000
That's
Wow.
for
unheard of.
Crossroads. So it's pretty, more than exciting to be racing, but it's even more exciting to be able to do something good like this. And
And this is what racing's all about. This is why people wonder why I'm so involved in racing. I mean, yeah, I love going fast cars, but every single person in racing is so involved in a foundation or giving
Yeah.
back. It's just the nature of this beast, and
it's a very generous sport.
absolutely with fans and with foundations. I mean, Joey Logano. Last year we had a young boy with autism. His father had written a letter about why he wanted the tickets to Pocono. They're like $600 a piece, the Skybucks we give away. And of course we gave him, that was a no-brainer. And I found out that the young man's favorite driver was Joey Logano. I emailed the head of the foundation, this girl Lisa, who's fantastic, and in 24 hours she had a box of goodies from Logano sent to him, and Frank and Jim took him to Dover to meet Joey Logano with his wife and son.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Unbelievable, and that's what racing's all about.
Yeah.
It really is. It's such a wonderful part of the sport, all about family. You see the drivers, their families are always with them. They have to support them for
Yeah,
them to be
yeah.
able to do that.
Well, basically every Saturday we collect a 50-50 at the track, and if a fan wins 50, the other 50 is donated by the fans to a charity, designated at that race.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and they've raised, we probably will raise $30,000 to $50,000.
I got
this year.
I got a charity for
Yeah,
you.
big bucks.
A local charity here called Xylophone. Actually, it's a theater arts program for children and adults with autism and Asperger's and
Oh,
disabilities.
that's amazing.
I'm going to throw that into the pile for you.
Sure.
So Stu's leading the points, but he's
Right.
still looking for that first win in the NASCAR Truck Series. Is he going to get it this weekend, you think?
Yeah, I think so. NASCAR is such a different type of race than dirt racing. Stuart and I are both very competitive and somewhat impatient, and dirt racing is attack, attack, attack. And it's taken both of us a couple of years to figure NASCAR is more like running a marathon. Pace yourself, win when you can,
Yeah,
take
yeah.
what you can get. And last year our goal was to be competitive and be in the top 10. And this year we said our goal is nothing less than to win the championship and to win races. And I'll admit Dover has not been the kindest place to us. We've wrecked both years we've
Well,
been
look
there.
at the
but
banking on that track. That is,
It's a weird track.
you can't even walk down the side. I'm just saying.
Well, the turns are very, very different. 1 and 2 is not the same as 3 and 4.
No, not at all.
And the banking is
Well, you're climbing.
not consistent.
You're climbing hills sometimes.
Yeah,
Not some,
you're
yeah.
actually launched off of turn 4. You're airborne
Sure.
coming off of 4. So I think Stewart's got it figured out. Obviously I have all the confidence in the world in him. And, we both are expecting to do very well at Dover. We got a great truck. Tripp has done an amazing job having the truck prepared, and our engineer
great.
Charles and the entire crew, the pit crew, everybody's at the top of their game this year, and it's paid off by being able to lead the points.
Yeah, we're also here with Jake Meyer. I'm sorry we didn't really want to ignore you all morning, but
No.
thanks for coming.
Chris is
But-
the more interesting guest at this point, I think.
Yeah, I needed to ask Chris those questions. I've been dying to talk to him about that. So thank you very much, Chris.
No.
Jake, some of the things that you're doing at the track, some of the social media stuff that you're doing, you're just bringing the track, I think, into the modern era. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things
and
that.
also, was it Talking Dirty?
Yeah, your
Right.
podcast.
I love
Yeah.
that name, by the way. I'm just going to say.
You know what? Yeah, since he's sitting right here, I got to give him credit. That's all Chris Larsen that came up with the name.
I love it. I thought that was perfect. It couldn't be more perfect.
I'm trying to live up to the moniker a little more here, get a little more dirty with it. No,
It really is a great podcast, too, because I've listened to them. You've done very well with that, really.
thanks. Yeah, I mean, the goal is really to just kind of expose driver personalities a little bit more.
Highlight
you know?
who they are and what they're doing. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm a big race fan growing up. Was a big NASCAR fan, and like Chris was saying about qualifying earlier, I never watched qualifying for NASCAR, as big a fan as I was. So I was more listening for the stories and the commentary
Exactly.
and
The
hearing about
backstories.
driver personalities and
But
stuff
you know,
like that.
Jack, those
so.
backstories are what gets people attached to
Right.
them. And that's really
Right.
important in racing.
Yeah, I mean, we just had Anthony Perego as our last guest, and here's a name that everybody knows, right? Because this guy's like winning all over the place, and but do you really know Anthony Perego?
Right.
Right. These are the things that
That's
we're trying to
great.
do with the podcast and get people to know these drivers.
Now,
and
do you
know
leave
the
your
sport.
podcasts up on the website that people can go and listen to them if they didn't have a chance the first time?
Yeah, if they go to our OrangeCountyFairSpeedway.net and go to the news and media section, they can find all sorts of content, stories about our history, our future, podcasts, videos, all sorts of stuff. I mean,
Get really involved. And then you have, on the 31st Lap Tavern, you have music every weekend, too. So every band you have, did you list the bands every week that are coming in?
every week we announce what bands we'll be playing every week. It's an evolving list at this point.
Who's going to be there Saturday night?
We've got the Harrison Street Band.
Okay. And where are they from?
I'm not personally familiar with the band.
They're in the tri-state area.
They're local. For the most part, we're talking about local bands.
Yeah, New
on,
Jersey,
Saturday
New York.
nights.
Right.
Yep.
Fantastic.
I saw Jake eating a pulled pork sandwich before the
Jake,
race on
Jim's
Saturday
going to
night.
go to the food.
But he wasn't doing it properly. I was giving him some tips. You got to put the coleslaw on the sandwich, and then with the hot, you got to put the hot sauce on it, Jake.
I'm not a heat seeker, Jim.
Oh
I don't know.
You got to give it a try at least once.
I've aged out of hot sauce.
And the other thing now,
Too young.
The first 2 weeks there was no popcorn machine at the
Oh,
track.
boy, Jim was in remission.
And I was really struggling with it. I walked over to the concession stand last Saturday night, and what did I see? The popcorn machine was back.
Yeah,
I
the
was in
first
my
thing he
glory.
said to me,
I don't know
guess
who's
what's back?
Yeah, I don't know who's responsible for that.
Someone
but,
banged
but,
it
but
with
tell
a
them
wrench and got it going
they
again.
are in the will. Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, there's no money in his will. I just want to mention that. Just I also want to let people know, admission there, general admission is $20 for an adult, $5 for children 10 and under. The best $20 you'll ever spend in your life.
Oh, it's hours of entertainment.
I mean, incredible. And it's I love the little boy with the flags there. He's he's going to end up working for you one day with doing the flags. This
He does an amazing job of mimicking Jerry Enright.
And he's got
He
the
does.
expression on his face, too. That's what's so great. If you watch him, you can see he's intent. It's just wonderful to see that because that's part of the family, participation that you have there. So we have that, and you have a drive-in admission, which I love. Because on the other side of the track, across from the bleachers, you can drive in like a movie. It's like a movie theater, and you have food over there unless they want to bring their own. No barbecue, though. They're not allowed to barbecue outside their car, I would assume.
I actually don't know if that's true or not.
Okay.
I don't want to get in trouble
I know
by
for
saying
Eastern-
one thing or the other.
I know for Eastern states they have actually those campers that camp there the entire weekend.
Yeah, people
so,
can camp
yeah.
inside the drive-in and park overnight there. To be honest with you, if they're not allowed to barbecue, I'd have to ask the general manager.
Okay.
What's the policy?
It'll be interesting to see because that could be an all day, and then people don't care, They
Yeah.
just,
It might be more like an unspoken thing.
yeah, okay, well, we won't speak of it. Okay, so this weekend, by the way, again, I'm going to mention, is the Star Wars theme. So you're going to have characters there dressed as Star Wars?
Yeah, we're going to have Darth Vader there. We're going to have a couple other guys there. And we got light swords or lightsabers for the kids at the gate.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I'm a crazy...
How old do you have to be to get one of those?
It's 10 and under, Jim. Same as...
Oh, darn it.
If you
Get
get a
on your
$5
knees.
No,
ticket, you're
I'll bring my
eligible.
grandson. There you go, yeah.
You're pawning your grands. Very nice. I am like a wacko Star Wars fan. I actually got, years ago, somebody gave me a black market copy of it. I saw it 150 times. I had the dialogue memorized.
Yeah.
My son was embarrassed because in the movie theater, when Darth Vader said, I am your father, I'm like, what? And Mac turned around to me and he goes, "Mom, nobody said anything but you." So I'm loving this whole idea for this week, and I think this is fantastic.
You see a lot of sports teams and venues doing these kinds of things, and it's really a great way to incorporate kids into the program and encourage
one of the
whole
ideas
families
is that,
to come out.
This really is the only professional sport in Orange County, and one of the only professional sports in the entire Hudson Valley.
Absolutely.
And as much as race fans and everyone about it are kind of nostalgic, if we don't move towards being a modern, sports and entertainment venue, it won't survive. So we're doing a lot of things that, professional sports organizations do and entertainment venues do. And, some of the things obviously are change is like a hard thing to manage, right?
Yeah, a lot of people don't like change. I love it, but okay.
Yeah, for the most part, I would say our fan base has been very patient. You always have a handful of people that aren't patient or don't know the facts about things, and social media now has become a great platform for people to complain. And
well, it's been that way for a while. And by the way, just to interject, if you have any questions or you have a suggestion, just go to their Facebook or their website and send them a message. They're very happy to listen to you.
I believe it's a fan's right to complain. They pay their money, and they have a right to express themselves when things aren't going the way they are. But by the same token, we're working hard. Everybody there is working hard, and sometimes we don't get it right. Sometimes we do things poorly, we communicate poorly, but for the most part, we get a lot of constructive criticism that helps guide us, and we're reacting to it.
Right.
Like I said, just flat out negative complaints usually
they don't
are
work.
Counterproductive. But by the same token, people are free to express them. A lot of things that people ask for, are in the works. They just don't understand the complexity of doing something or where the status is, and I think that's where we need to do a better job.
But get your information first before you start spouting off. Find out the information. Go do a little research. Make a phone call. Do an email.
Right. So I could just stress two things I know a lot of people are curious about. Number one, the new policy in the pits. Yeah. Everybody wanted to blame, and it was a very unfortunate drivers' meeting, and it was poor of us to come out with a new policy at a driver's meeting. So the first thing we learned is never to do that. There's no reason to surprise everybody with that.
Right, and that policy was no more standing up on top of the haulers in the infield.
Right, and really it's a longer term, it's the beginning of a longer term search for viewing for, from the grandstands better, as well as viewing from the pits. There's other steps to follow. We understand that the penultimate problem is the stackers. But, those competitors somehow need to be accommodated if we're going to park them outside. We know we need to provide viewing from inside the pits. Those are capital improvements that have to be planned out. Some of it requires some engineering. The policy of no standing on the trailers was easy. It probably didn't have to happen the day it did, and it certainly didn't have to happen the way it did. It doesn't take away from the fact that it was going to happen, though. Another thing I hear a lot about is new PA system. So I thought that was an easy thing, just put some new speakers in. Right. However, we have basically World War II electronics at the facility.
So there's homing pigeons in there?
Yeah. The rebuild of the entire electronic system is several $100,000.
Oh my gosh!
Right. The track doesn't make that kind of profit in years.
That's a lot of pulled pork sandwiches.
So it's in a way we have a proposal to start redoing it, and it'll put in
little by little. Don't expect
new
everything at once.
Electronics that'll tie into my laps, that'll tie into an electronic scoreboard, that'll
Wi-Fi.
put new PA in. Wi-Fi.
Yeah, you got the
already.
Wi-Fi now. Yeah.
We put Wi-Fi in last year.
Okay.
We have Wi-Fi in the pits, so there's a lot that is happening behind the
Just
scenes.
be patient, everybody.
And we're even working on a smartphone app that'll, in some ways, connect to all this new technology.
Well, there's a lot going on, and the good news is that you have to adapt and change as things either need upgrading or as
Why don't
people
you try that, Frank?
Thing new. Me and change do not go together.
No.
But me and Peter Fella do. Peter Fella is on today at 10 o'clock for Health Matters. Peter, how you doing?
Very good. I have a great segue. Today's program on Health Matters, we're going to be talking about Facebook, about how it is used.
Here's my idea. You remember
Ross's
the
Corner?
Chatterbox? Chris? Okay, so it's this round 1950s looking diner type place that they had classic car and bike shows, and it was packed all the time. What was the town it was in?
Well, it's called Ross's Corner, where 206 and Route 15 join in, by where the Skylands Park is, where they have the
Okay.
baseball
All right, so
and the fair.
but anyway, it was in no man's land. So
Yeah.
this is all empty over here on the corner.
Yep.
I'm saying move that whole thing over here. You got parking for hundreds of cars and bikes. You have traffic that goes by all the time. They would make a fortune.
It would be
Tremendous idea.
yeah.
Just my idea. You can do it.
Yeah, the problem with it was in an area that people wouldn't travel to if the
Exactly.
weather wasn't great.
Right.
So it's hit and miss all the
That's
time,
what I'm
and that's
saying.
a hard
you got
way.
a perfect spot.
As you know, it's hard to.
and we can walk to the diner.
It's always financially difficult when it's dependent on the weather, and unfortunately,
Yeah.
a lot of businesses are. And his
Well, we're
definitely
looking
was
at
so.
putting them on at the fairgrounds, either Friday nights or Sunday afternoons.
good.
Oh,
And,
cool.
We have the 31st lap available. We're putting a roof on top of the pavilion, so
Oh, fantastic.
we're hoping to kind of turn it into a rain or shine type.
Maybe you'll get Frank to
venue,
bring
you
one
know.
of his classic cars out.
You better.
That'd be
We can do
awesome.
that. I'd love to
I'll
get out
even
there.
take the late model one because I'd
I'm
like
sure
it
you
to just
would.
get out of the garage and back in.
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
nice. It has been
That's
a while.
big trip for that car.
That is, unfortunately. Well, we'll see what happens. Well, I do have a lost classic for you today because we have a gentleman that's celebrating a birthday and was a lead vocalist from one of the big groups of the day. His name is Lou Graham, and he was born on this date in 1950. And Lou Graham was the lead vocalist of the group Foreigner.
Oh, yeah, I love Foreigner.
Now, we didn't go to see Foreigner at the Mayo Performing Arts Center because Lou Graham
Wasn't there.
was not part of the group, so I said, forget
What's
about
the
it.
point?
I'd go see it the other way around if Lou Graham was there.
Great,
but,
great band. I love this
Yep,
band.
so he's still out there, and Foreigner, of course, a lot of great music, great rock songs, but talk about love songs. This is one of the big ones from 1981. Lou Graham on lead vocals and Waiting for a Girl Like You. WTBQ and WGHT's Our Town, brought to you by Mill Spa Furniture this morning. And along with Taylor and Jim LaPlante, we do have some in-studio guests.
Chris Larsen, the owner of the new Orange County Fair Speedway, and new and improved and wonderful things happening. And Jake Meyer. What's your title, Jake?
I don't know, Chris.
Do it all.
Do it all, something like that. Chief head cook and
Bottle
bottle washer. I don't
washer.
know.
Well, he does do it all, though. I see him at
Yeah.
the track. He's
and he
running
does
around
it with a
crazy.
smile.
He does. Yeah.
Like every time we need something done, I go, all right, Jake, that's your job too.
Gee, that's sort of what I do here, Jake.
Yeah.
So I feel your pain. But anyway, we have on the phone with us one of the great drivers over at Orange County Fair Speedway, Matt Janiak. So good morning, Matt.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Hey,
We're all
Matt.
good.
Hello, Matt.
So
How are you?
We're great. So
Hey Matt, I gotta start off now. First of all, congratulations to you and your wife Christine. But I gotta ask you about this gender reveal thing that I saw. Was that a smoke bomb or what the heck was that?
That was just a balloon filled with blue powder, but the old wife's aim was a little off, so at least I hit it.
Yeah,
I would not. I wouldn't. By the way, Matt, I wouldn't say old wife.
Yeah, Christine missed the mark by a bit, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was pretty awesome.
What'd you name your little boy?
Not yet.
Grayson.
I love that. That's a great name. So go ahead, Jim. I know you're biting at the bit here.
No, Matt, you've been super fast this year. I mean, we were talking off the air with Jake and Chris and Taylor about how fast your car has been this year, since, even faster than it was last year. I noticed Saturday night during the time trials, you ran a lap nearly 102 miles an hour. What's the difference? Is it the car? Is it the track? Is it the driver? What's going on with that car?
Well, it's the track's been really good. I know there's a lot of people complaining about it, but I'm a big fan of it, and it's just the confidence going into this year is totally different. I've been going at it a different attitude. I'm trying not to put stress on myself. It's just go out there and have fun, and it's so far paying off.
Yeah, you were really, really fast. I mean, did you know that your car was fast coming right off the hauler, or once you got it, was there a wow moment? Did you say, man, I got something underneath me today?
And we actually came the same way we finished the year off with last year, and we were good at the end of the year, so I said we might as well stick with it. And it felt good, but it's hard when the tracks like that just hammer down. Everybody feels good, so you don't know your lap. But I thought we were all right. Old Tyler was standing down there in the corner cheering when I came in, so I knew I did something right.
That's awesome. One of the things that the track is doing this year, they're having a lot of theme nights.
May the 4th be with you.
Yeah, that's coming up on Saturday night. But a couple of weeks ago, it was the Carl Van Horn Tribute Night, and you had a pretty awesome paint scheme on your car, the number 71 that Carl used to have on his car. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came about and what it meant to you to wear his colors that night?
Chris came to me earlier in the winter and said, let's do something with it. So I got the body made up, and it's cool to honor somebody that I never had the privilege to watch him race, but I think it'd be his nephew there, Carl Jr. or third or whatever he is, and raced against him, and it was just cool there was so much history behind it, and I did some research on him and stuff. It was definitely neat to be able to do stuff like that for the people that did used to race and brought up the whole sport and made it what it is. It's definitely neat.
Yeah, how much work was that? Did you have to, bring that car into the shop for a couple of days, or how did that all come about? The mechanics behind it.
That was our second body that we just got lettered up for the 71, and we're just going to get it rewrapped to match the cars now, just in case I peel one off this year, which is quite possible.
Yeah. And we should just thank Ryan Sacco, who does an amazing job on our body wraps, and you saw Matt has a new scheme this year, unique to his car, which is just awesome.
Yeah, Simplicity Designs is his business, and
okay.
Matt's car this year really stands out from the other Halmar cars. It's got a really unique new scheme. I like it.
Yeah, it's standing out when it's leading the pack as well, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
that's the goal every week.
All right, now there's a big controversy here in the studio this morning about these pulled pork sandwiches. Now, I have to ask you,
very
Matt,
important to Jim.
Now, have you tried the pulled pork sandwich yet at the track?
I do not eat on Saturdays.
Oh.
So that would be a no. I have not tried it.
Okay,
it's interesting because every driver has their whole thing about superstition the day of the race.
Yeah. Well, I can understand not eating before the race.
Well, no, he doesn't have to worry because you'll eat for him.
Yeah,
trust
you
me.
leave me more. But after the race, you got to get over to the concession stand. You got to try a pulled pork sandwich. Now, the argument here is you got to put, the coleslaw on top of the sandwich with the hot sauce. Now, would you? Is that the strategy that you would use?
Oh, that was my strategy on everything I eat. I get a burger, I put the fries right on top. All right. Make one mess.
All right, let's talk about, this year, some of the goals that you might have. I mean, are you looking to challenge for the point championship? And, what's your thought about where you need to be as a team this season?
We're just I like to be the dark horse, so I'm hoping we kind of sneak on in there without too much noise, and everybody's like, where'd he come from at the end of the season? But that's our goal, just to finish every week, finish the best we can, and let the points and everything play out the way it does. You can't. I've tried the points race before, and that doesn't work. So
now, Matt,
we're just going to take it 1 week at a time.
Where did you grow up, Matt?
I grew up right in Warwick, Pine Island area.
Oh, really? Okay. And your family in racing?
Yeah, my brother-in-law started me off in it, and I've been in it ever since. That was my 16th birthday present, to drive his race car, and I don't know if it was the best or the worst birthday present ever. Depends on the week.
Were you into racing prior to that?
Yeah, I raced go-karts and everything before that.
It's funny. That's where Jeff Gordon started that way. There's a video of Jeff when he was a little kid, like 4 years old, and you saw the intense look on his face, even at that age. That bug gets you, you're done.
Yeah. Now, your wife Christine is at the track almost every race. I ran into you guys last year, I think, on a Friday night up at Accord Speedway, and you weren't running that night. You were just watching the races. So you both have the bug, right?
She has the bug more than I do.
Really?
Put her in the car.
Well, she's like, the week we had off, the second week, she was like, let's go to Fonda. I'm like, no. I'm like, Danny's going to race. Like, you get in the truck with him. I'll see you when you get home. Like, she's all about it. So.
That's fantastic. That is one of the most important things that people learn about racing, that families have to be involved. You have to have a group around you that's supporting you, because that is not a solo sport, without a doubt.
Yeah, you probably have a lot of support in the pits as well, right? You have a crew there that helps keep that car moving.
Oh yeah, we have a great group of guys. There's 3 or 4 of the guys that come, and they're great. I don't touch the cars on Saturdays. If you ever come around, I just get out, tell them what it's doing, and let them do their thing. That way I could just focus on one thing. I have a really good group around us.
So what are the things that you can do to kind of make adjustments to the car, on a Saturday night? I mean, is it like you change shocks or tire pressure? What are some of the things that you might ask the crew to do?
So far this year we haven't changed anything, which is pretty good. But just you got to get the tires reground in, and that's the biggest thing right now because the track's been good and there's been no tire wear. So do you want to sipe them or groove them or what you want to do on them? And there's one guy that just does that, and then I have 2 guys that change a shock or a spring or just the basic stuff where if we got to get it dialed in a little bit better, we let them talk about it and they do the thing, and I just get in and drive and tell them if they did the right thing or not at the end.
Now, is tires the most expensive thing you have to keep changing on the car?
If you don't run into anything, yeah, that's really your biggest expense is the tires and fuel. So
yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, don't run into anything.
Yeah, please.
Right, that's why I'm a fan of this time trial thing, because if you're good off the trailer and the top 12 lock in, it's saving either yourself or your car owner a lot of money in fuel and tires because you don't have to run heats. So
what does
I'm a fan of everything going on.
What does that feel like going 110 miles an hour going into turn 1 and the back wheels come out? Because you turn that corner by your rear tires, you're basically sideways. What's that feel like? Is it like, geez, I hope it sticks?
Once you get comfortable, you know it's going to stick. You just got to have the confidence in the car. But when it steps out from underneath you more than you want it to, it definitely makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck a little bit.
I can imagine. So you got Halmar International on the side of your car. How did you hook up with Halmar, and tell us a little bit about that story? Well,
that was still when Chris had Willie running the team for him there, and I got to meet Willie because Chris bought some Hig Fab chassis, and he was there ordering cars, and I was working at Hig Fab for Jerry at the time, and I met Willie, and then Chris and Willie, I guess, started talking about me, and I must have been good them couple weeks, and that just snowballed from there, and I've been with them ever since. I think it's going on 4 or 5 years now. I don't even know.
Yeah. The cool thing about Matt, obviously Stu and Jimmy get all the headlines, but Matt is the only Halmar driver to win a race at Middletown every single year that we've kind of been in business.
Wow.
And not only that, Matt's won a race in every division
at
Middletown.
That's incredible.
Yeah, he's they're very talented driver, and I'm happy he's with us.
Yeah, that's what kind of an adjustment is that to, once you go from one type to the other?
It was big to jump from the Sportsman to the small block. That was the big step. But then going from the small block to the big block, it was a little easier. And now it's really almost not hard, but you got to really think about what car you're in when you go back and forth from car to car, because you definitely drive them a little different.
That's interesting because the speeds really aren't that different. If you look at the lap times between the small blocks and the big blocks, there's not a lot of difference. So it's interesting that you say that the cars drive differently.
The weights are different, and you brake more with the small block, and you have different entrance and exits through the turns because of the weight of the car and everything.
Oh, okay. Matt, one of your hobbies is snowmobiling.
Oh, jeez. Well, gee, am I surprised? No.
You spend some time up in northern New York, do you?
Oh, yeah, we used to go all the time. This year was a little tough with Christine being pregnant. I only went up once because we do it. She has her own sled, too. We do it. Same thing. We do it together. The guys on the team all have them. So we stay together.
They got a team. I'm just saying. They got to race anything.
The guys in the garage must be so jealous of you because Christine is into racing and snowmobiling. And I got to tell you, she is one very beautiful girl. She really is very attractive. So you done good. You done good, Matt. You really did. Yeah.
Does she want to race herself?
No, I don't think she would.
I do.
Not now with being a mom. I don't think she really has no interest in it. I don't like driving. She drives them around the yard and through the pits and all that, but I don't think she would. No, she actually. I lied. She did take it out one night. We had the track record, and she went out there and rode around. I forgot about that. She did drive them once.
How'd she do?
How'd she do?
She didn't hit anything, so So far,
Well,
she's better than I am.
It's not a very high standard, Matt. But,
Well, listen, that was the goal. Go out there, do what you just don't hit nothing. So she accomplished her goal.
All right, that's